She's only happy to be skinny because she believes that there's some perception, some privilege that's attached to her skinniness. And whenever someone tries to use privilege as an example, with me at least, the question that I always ask is, where in your life can you show me the benefit of this privilege? What have you accomplished as a result of this privilege?
Ah, shit. Get your tea and your popcorn because this is going to be a good one. So, remember that content creator who went on a rampage against skinny women? So, apparently, she has been continuing her rampage. Let's get into some of her content.
You know what's crazy? Y'all have been so fat phobic for the past few days, but I will bet money. The person's house who you're going to for Thanksgiving, they gonna have a little bit of this. Y'all will not eat food from nobody on Thanksgiving who didn't have a little bit of this when they cooked it. Especially if they got this little, you see that right there? Those are the people's houses that you're gonna be. Those are your moms, your aunts, your cousins, your grandmas. Those are where you're going to go to eat Thanksgiving dinner. And y'all been so fat phobic. Y'all don't deserve a plate. Y'all don't deserve. If I knew y'all personally, I would send your family the comments that y'all was posting so y'all would not get a plate tomorrow. Y'all don't deserve it. Y'all don't deserve a plate of food. Mm-mm.
Do you see how she's trying to cope with her own obesity by implying that all of your friends and family members who are good at cooking must be obese? First of all, that's a stereotype. There are plenty of fat people who cannot cook, hence why they eat out every single day. Secondly, she's basically trying to say, like, oh, you wouldn't have access to good food if it weren't for us big girls. So, do you see how she's trying to equate her value to society as, like, cooking you a Thanksgiving meal? And do you see how she also assumes that your mom and grandma and aunties are all fat? And it's like, even if they are all fat, that doesn't mean that all of us want to look like somebody's mama or grandma or auntie. So you're still not going to be able to flex on skinny people because, oh my God, I'm a better cook than you. All the fat women are better cooks than you guys. That's why we're fat. First of all, half the food that you guys are cooking is filled with fat and sugar and butter, and it causes people to be pre-diabetic. There's a reason why people only eat Thanksgiving food once out of the year. There's a reason why all of that soul food, it was only on Sunday dinner. Okay, there's a reason why people don't eat you guys' cooking every single day. So if you were really that great of a cook, shouldn't you be able to come up with creative, healthy recipes then? You know, since big girls are the best cooks. Okay, so if you're the best cooks, then you should have no problem coming up with a healthy version of pizza, soul food, cheeseburgers, because you're a great cook, right? Great cooks know how to come up with new recipes. So you're such a great cook, yet you can't figure out how to make a salad. You're such a great cook, yet you can't figure out how to not overeat on sugar and carbs every single day. Okay, so on this one, someone commented on her page and they said, so are you promoting obesity with your physique? She never said anything about having an eating disorder and you need more than a leisurely walk. You're overweight. That's unhealthy, but you're allowed to love you, right? And this is her response.
What you're trying to say is that your value in yourself comes from your appearance and your perception of thin. It's just interesting to me because your thinness and your perception of thinness and you saying what's healthy and loving yourself hasn't gotten you anywhere. I went to your profile. You obviously put a lot of efforts into your videos and you still have what, 700 views? So I understand why you said this comment because I know that me existing and thriving bothers you. It bothers you because you wish that you were in my place and you feel like I should be in your place, but that's obviously not what's happening. And that has been the consensus with a lot of these comments. I realize a lot of these thin, skinny people that are advocating for this are just jealous because there's some big woman in their life or that they know or that they see on social media that is living a life or having things that they feel like they deserve. And society has convinced them that they should have access to it because they're thin and they don't. And now it's everyone's problem and you're miserable.
Let's look at some of these comments. This person says, LMAO, why are the skinny minis so triggered? Like, babe, go drink your nasty Slim Quick and leave bigger bodies alone. I love how she calls it bigger body. She doesn't call it obesity. Somebody says, we don't have to drink Slim Quick to stay small, babe. I eat good every day and was born 10 pounds and still slim and fine. And then the creator responded, she's like, "You still here? Go enjoy life." So I've noticed this rhetoric amongst a lot of overweight women where they think that if you have any differing opinions of them, you must be jealous of them. So let me know in the comment section, are you jealous of this woman? Are you jealous of her body? Because what she's attempting to do is flex her subscriber count on this skinny woman. She's basically saying, "Ha ha, I have more subscribers, which means I must be more privileged." And I find it hilarious how she's assuming that we all have the same perception of what privilege is. Like, she seems to think that if you're skinny, that you should be the most famous person, have the most TikTok followers, have the most subscribers. And so she's trying to throw it in this woman's face, like, "Oh, you're not as famous as me on social media." And it's like, sis, every skinny woman in the world doesn't want to be famous. Every skinny woman doesn't want to have a TikTok following that is based on obesity. This person says the skinny huns are all hungry and fighting for their lives in your comment section. Someone says your appearance is a part of who you are. People judge a book by its cover, whether it's right or wrong, but that's the reality. Exactly. One of the biggest parts of thin privilege is that you avoid fat phobia. So if you're not experiencing the trauma of fat phobia, that is literally a privilege. Not having to experience certain traumas, that in and of itself is a privilege, whether the person is famous or not. And the question I have for her is, why do I have to prove my privilege to you? Like, why is it always the women who don't have a particular privilege who want you to prove how privileged you are to them so that they can judge it? What she's trying to say is that thin privilege doesn't exist. She's trying to imply that thin privilege doesn't exist or that anybody who's different than her is not more privileged than her. And I agree with the second part. I think that privilege is so subjective to the point where it really can't be measured. But to imply that there is no privilege whatsoever that comes with being thin, that's just an idiotic talking point. And my question for these women is, who died and made you the queen of society? Why is it that as soon as women start loving themselves out loud or they start talking about how they enjoy certain privileges, suddenly the women who don't even have those privileges want to insert themselves into the conversation, and then they want you to prove to them that you have that privilege? So they spent years telling women online that they should acknowledge all of their different privileges. They told us to acknowledge whether it's thin privilege, white privilege, light skin privilege. And then once women finally are beginning to talk about their privilege, you've got these non-privileged people, these people who don't even have that same experience as you, who want to insert themselves in the conversation. And then they want you to list out all of the achievements in your life that came directly from that privilege. But then if you start doing that, if you say to them like, "Oh yeah, I'm skinny and I got to be a model," then they'll try to say stuff like, "Oh, well, you're not Naomi Campbell. Well, you're not as famous as Tyra Banks. Well, so and so plus size model is more famous than you." So they're doing this because they want to constantly move the goalpost of what privilege is to try to convince you that you don't have that particular privilege. And this is why I say you should always have an internal locus of control. Don't ever allow other women to tell you who you are, because you're the only one who has experienced life in your shoes. So you would know exactly what privileges you have and exactly what you have attained via those privileges. It's a privilege that I can walk into a thrift store or the mall and get a new strapless shirt for $5. A lot of women who are obese can't do that because you have to buy bras that are like $100 just to hold up your boobs. A lot of obese women, they have to buy different bras, different girdles, like all kinds of things to suck them in. So it's like, it's a privilege to be able to shop easily. So that's a simple privilege that a lot of thin women have. But it's like, why do I have to sit here and try to explain to someone who does not have my experience what my experiences are? Especially if that person is denigrating those who have thin privilege. It's like, okay, you have big privilege and I have thin privilege. What's wrong with that? Why can't two things be true at the same time? But I've noticed some of these women, they have a scarcity mindset. There's not enough room for two people at the table. There's not enough room for big women to embrace being big and then small women to embrace being small. This is a symptom of hierarchy thinking. It's that scarcity mindset. Oh no, there can only be one beauty standard. Oh no, there can only be one way to be privileged. And so if you're skinny, you're supposed to have more TikTok followers than me. And because you don't, this means I'm higher than you. So do you see the hierarchy thinking? I have more subscribers than you and you're skinny. So this means that your skinny privilege didn't work for you. Her skinny privilege is working for her in everyday life, sis. She can sit in an airplane and only sit in one seat and be comfortable. That is a form of thin privilege. She can fit into a small car and be comfortable. She can sit in the back of an Uber without popping the tires because of her weight. That is a privilege. But let's look at this comment. This person says, "Girl, you're not obese. Also, I notice you slimmed down since you joined that running club, if that's okay to say. And then somebody responded, they're like, not she over here actively losing weight, and this is her take. So this woman is literally a part of a running club. And then she has the audacity to talk shit about skinny women. This is exactly what I'm talking about when I speak on jealousy. A lot of women, they will talk shit about you publicly, but then privately they secretly want to be more like you. So it's like you're talking all this shit about skinny women, but you have joined a running club so you can lose weight. Not a walking club. She didn't join one of those classes where they work out in the chairs where they're sitting down. No, she joined a full blown running club where they train for 5Ks, where they train for half marathons. So you're over here in a running club, huffing and puffing every Saturday morning. You're over here huffing and puffing on Wednesday nights so you can meet up with your local running club and have the audacity to talk shit and say that skinny women don't deserve a plate at Thanksgiving because we're fat phobic, and that all of our family members who cook the Thanksgiving meals are fat. Actually, no, my mother is not obese. And no, my mother does not have gigantic bat wings hanging off of the sides of her arms. No, she doesn't. That was a nice coping mechanism, sis, but that's not true. And then isn't it hilarious how she tries to stereotype obese women as being the best cooks? Like, oh, us big girls, we can cook better than everybody. Whoever's cooking your Thanksgiving meal, she's probably the same size as me. No, she's not, sis. Just because someone is fat doesn't mean that they're good at cooking. Do you know how many women get fat because they can't cook? And they eat out every day, and that's why they're fat. So it's not that, oh, she's fat because she's just a master chef and she's just in the kitchen cooking for 3 hours. First of all, standing for hours, that actually burns calories. So a lot of women who are good cooks, like if a woman is truly standing on top of a hot stove for 3 hours and she's mixing and chopping, that actually would burn calories. So I would make the argument that a lot of women who are good cooks, I would say that more of them are probably not obese. Now, they may not all be super skinny, but I would say that the majority of them are probably not super obese because a lot of obese women, they can't even stand up for that long. They can't stand up and chop a whole bunch of vegetables and cook meals for 5 to 10 people. So this stereotype that like big girls are just automatically the best cooks and like your grandma and whoever's cooking the Thanksgiving meal, she's the same size as me. No, she's not, sis. But let's look at the rest of these comments. So this person says she joined a running club to socialize. Somebody else said not to lose weight at all. Someone says, why are you asking me? I didn't join a running club. And then the person says, you said she joined to socialize. You seem to know a lot about why she does what she does. And then the person said, someone losing a bit of weight is totally different than making your whole identity being rail thin. So do you see how they love using this talking point? If you're privileged and you acknowledge it, you're making it your whole identity. You're making it your whole personality. So if you make one TikTok video about being thin, you're making it your whole personality. They say the same thing about light-skinned women. They say the same thing about people in the conservative party and the liberal party, LGBT people. No matter what it is, no matter what group you're a part of, if this person is a bigot, they will literally say, oh, you're just making it your whole personality. So you're not allowed to talk about the groups that you enjoy being a part of. You're not allowed to love yourself out loud, basically. And then somebody says, right, like shut the F up. If that's the case, she should have joined a book club. She must be fat phobic too, since she's actively losing weight. But hey, exactly. It's like, why are you only fat phobic if you don't want to be obese? So if I don't want to be 300 pounds, I'm fat phobic. So another person commented on her channel. They said, a girl said she likes being skinny and she's really bothered by that. Who really has the problem? It's eating her up. And then this creator responded. Let's see what she said.
I'm good. If I'm just some jealous, overweight, insecure girl that's projecting, why do you guys keep commenting?
Okay, first of all, I'm looking at a screenshot of the comment. I don't see anything where this person is calling her jealous, overweight, and insecure. So the fact that she's saying that shows that those words were already in her mind.
If I'm just some jealous, insecure girl, why do y'all even care? Don't y'all have skinny privilege? Don't y'all have the privilege to go on with your lives and not engage or discuss in this topic? Why do you care? Go to the skinny girls page and y'all can be skinny together. Why stay here? Use your privilege. No? And how can I be the problem? I thought I'm just some insecure girl that's projecting on the internet. How am I the problem? I don't have privilege in this situation. It's either I'm the victor or I'm the victim. Which one? Because you guys switch it up whenever you want to fit a narrative. So which one is it? Why don't you use your skinny privilege and go on the skinny side of the internet, huh?
Okay, so she said that there's a victor and a victim. Which one is she? Okay, that's incorrect. Okay, that's hierarchy thinking. Everybody is not in a competition. Okay, everything is not this war and a battle to where, oh, there's one person that has the victory and then the other person's the loser. So, do you see how much black and white thinking she has right there? So, she's saying, which one am I? Am I the victim in this scenario or am I the winner? Am I the winner or the loser? And it's like she has this competitive, comparative mindset. She's comparing herself to skinny women and saying, which one is it? Who's on top and who's on bottom? And it's like, sis, two things can be true at the same time. You can have certain privileges. You have black privilege, you have victim privilege, you have the privilege of having the voice for those who are underprivileged. And then the skinny girl, she has the privilege of, being skinny. So why can't two things be true at the same time? So to this woman, she doesn't believe that that's the case. She believes that in every social scenario that it's always a competition. And this is exactly what I mean when I talk about inferiority complexes, because it must be exhausting to have to compare yourself and compete with 7 billion people. I mean, talk about waking up with the weight of the world on your shoulders. I mean, if that's not carrying the weight of the world on your shoulders, I don't know what is. So the fact that she even said that shows that she has a comparative mindset. Also, anytime a woman asks you to begin describing your exact privileges, she's only asking you that so she can compare herself to you. Like she'll be asking you, oh well, what kind of thin privilege do you have, or how has that privilege worked out in your life? And she's saying that because she wants you to answer so that she can try to compare it to herself, or she wants to try to judge you in her mind, or she wants to gaslight you and move the goalpost and say, well, you're not famous on social media and I am, so I must be more privileged than you. Social media fame, that is a different sector than like having to do with your weight, unless you're making weight loss content. I mean, if you want to talk about social media niches, you can be both fat and successful on social media, and you can be skinny and successful on social media. I've seen both. I've seen fat women make content about weight loss, or they talk about their weight struggles. And then I've seen skinny women make content about weight loss and about their fitness journey. So it's not that one is better than the other, but the fact that she has to make it like one has to be better than the other, like, which one am I? That shows that she has that competitive mindset. And then she's like, oh, well, why are you here? You should be out in the world using your skinny privilege. Okay, so this shows that she's probably never been skinny. I'm starting to believe that she's probably never been skinny, because skinny people, they're not just basking in their thin privilege 24/7. So this tells me that she most likely has an underprivileged mindset in terms of her body, because she's stereotyping privileged women. She thinks that if you are thin privileged, that you're just sitting around 24/7, just basking and being thin, and you're just constantly thinking about, oh my God, I'm so thin and pretty. Oh, look at my perfect body. Look at my perfect abs. Oh, I look like a supermodel. Look at my long legs. So she's kind of stereotyping, like, if you're skinny, why are you over here in the dumps with me? She's basically saying that. She's basically implying that skinny women are actually socially higher than her, and so they shouldn't be on her side of the internet. So she's actually flip-flopping mid-sentence and gaslighting the person. She's saying like, oh, well, since you're so skinny, why are you over here with my big ass? Why are you over here with my fat ass channel? Or like, why are you socializing with me? So she's actually implying that skinny women can't socialize with fat women, or that skinny women can't clap back. So, like, this whole mindset that if you're privileged, you can't clap back, I can tell that that's this woman's mindset. She thinks that if you're privileged, you're not allowed to clap back. So, this is another indicator that she has an inferiority complex, because she's stereotyping you as a privileged person. She's saying, well, since you're so privileged, why are you clapping back? You shouldn't be clapping back because you're above me, right? So she's actually admitting that she believes that anyone more privileged than her should be above it all when it comes to clapping back on the internet or responding. And that's not the case. There are plenty of women who are more privileged than you, and they will also flex on your ass. The exotical space is one of those spaces. The exotical space in particular, if people try to troll us, they might get trolled back. And so sometimes there are skinny women who are going to clap back. There are skinny women who will defend themselves, or they will say whatever they have to say. So you can't just denigrate people and start shit on the internet and then get shocked when they respond. She's like, oh my God, why are you over here? I thought you were so privileged. You're so far above me socially. So like, why are you responding to me? Well, it's because some people choose to respond and clap back against whoever they want, and they choose to flex on whoever they want. So it's like, if you're using skinny people to create your content, don't get mad when skinny people use you to create their content. So do you see how she has this energy of she can dish it out, but she can't take it back? So she's shocked that when she talks shit about skinny people, that people talk shit back. She's so shocked by that. And also, with her kind of like talking about her being famous on TikTok or whatever, or being more famous than the skinny girl who commented, okay, well, if you are that girl on the internet, then you should be used to the smoke, right? You should be used to the scrutiny, because that's what happens when you're the HBIC. People talk shit about the HBIC. So which one is it? Can you handle the smoke or not? Because if you can't take the heat, get out the kitchen. Let's take a look at these comments. This person says, girl, people are here because you're saying incorrect things. You said that what she said bothered you. It should only bother you if you feel some type of way about yourself. That's the point. And then somebody says, y'all are so insufferable. You're skinny. Don't you have something better to do? Tell me you have hierarchy thinking without telling me you have hierarchy thinking. The fact that you even put that on there, oh, you should have something better to do because you're skinny. You're literally admitting out of your own mouth that you put skinny people on a hierarchy above yourself. Like, you guys are admitting your inferiority complexes about your bodies left and right. The only people who are offended by people enjoying being skinny are the people who don't enjoy their own bodies. Like, if a big girl says that she enjoys being big and she loves being obese and, she has a fat ass or whatever, I'm not bothered by that. I'm not offended. That's not going to bother me like, oh, how dare you say that? You hate skinny people because you said you enjoy being big. No, I would just not care at all. And then somebody says they are mean girls. So once again, there's this stereotype that, if you have any sort of privilege, you must be a mean girl, because there's no way that you can be privileged and also be a good person at the same time. That's impossible. So if you're skinny, or if you're pretty, or if you have any sort of social privilege in society, you must be a bad person. You must be a mean girl.
My favorite thing to be is big. And I fear that you cannot say that out loud, but it is, in fact, my favorite thing to be. And it is my favorite fear to not be. This is just my personal preference. This is just my personal preference. But I just wanted to say that out loud, that my favorite thing to be is big. Now, it's not all that I think about because I have a life. It is my favorite thing to be. I hope to always weigh over 200 pounds. I hope to never go below that. I enjoy being 264. I enjoy having meat on my body. I enjoy having fat on my body. And again, I know in today's society, we can't say that, but I just felt the need to say it out loud because it is truly my favorite thing to be.
Okay, so obviously she's being sarcastic there, but isn't it ironic how she's saying it's her favorite thing to be 264 pounds, yet she joined a running club? Like, I mean, she didn't join a walking club, she didn't join a book club, and people were literally getting defensive, like, oh, she didn't join it to lose weight. She joined the running club so that she can socialize. And it's like, there are thousands of other ways to socialize without running 5 miles. So isn't it ironic? It's like, sis, which one is it? And if she truly liked being big, then why was she bothered? Because she said in her video that she was literally bothered by the other girl saying she wanted to be skinny. So why would you be bothered by another body type if you enjoy your own body type?
The thank God I'm skinny conversation is very weird to me, but I think it's because of my experience with weight. Although I've been smaller, I have never been skinny. However, if I'm being honest, outside of going to college, there hasn't been a lot of spaces in which I existed in, and being skinny was a requirement or a beauty standard. This was me in high school, and although I look smaller here, I did not feel skinny. And honestly, I don't know if I'd want to be this weight at 34 years old. Like, I think grown women should have grown woman weight on their body. This was me after my freshman year when I gained my freshman 15. And I thought I got thick. This was me in the process of gaining my freshman 15. And I was so happy because, again, I thought I looked thick. I was happy because I was getting thick. Look at my booty. This was me at the On the Run 2 concert. Again, I feel like I look great here. And I'm not skinny. Like, I was a good maybe 242 in this picture. This is me after I lost a significant amount of weight, but I think even here I was like 207. I thought I looked great here. And you can't tell, but I'm wearing a waist trainer. That's why my waist looks so snatched. This was me last year on vacation, and I love this picture so much. I don't know, I thought it captured my body very well. And this was me just actually a few months ago when I had my European vacation. Maybe because I've never been thin, I can't attest to those quote unquote thin privileges that they're talking about. Or maybe because I don't know, I've always been big. So the whole conversation is very interesting to me. And I'm going to be honest, I don't know how much my life would have changed if I was skinny. Do y'all get what I'm saying? Because I've always been big.
Okay, so she literally admits that she's never had the experience being thin, yet suddenly she has so much shit to talk about women who are thin. And she has so much critique and so many questions about thin women needing to prove their privilege to her and how thin women don't deserve a plate at Thanksgiving. So isn't it interesting how women who don't even have said privileges, they want to be able to speak on your privilege, they want to be able to judge your privilege, they want you to explain your privilege to them so that they can decide whether or not it actually is privilege, and then they will go on to admit later on that they've never even had access to that privilege. So it's like, of course you don't think there's a such thing as thin privilege because you've never experienced it. You've never been thin. You said that at your smallest you were like over 200 pounds. You said that you're 264, and in the other photos, you were 242, and oh, that's just thick. 242, I don't know how tall she is, but it's like 242. I don't consider that to be thick. I consider that to be, that's damn near 250 pounds. So, isn't it interesting how women without certain privileges, they love to insert themselves into the conversation that the quote unquote privileged women are having? And also, I'm not saying that there aren't privileges to being thicker or to, being fuller bodied. I'm not saying that there aren't privileges to that. But I find it interesting how this woman has so much to say that she made literally about a dozen TikToks talking about skinny women. So she made all these TikToks talking about a group of women that she is not a part of. At least in the exotical space, we actually have black women in the exotical space who are monoracially black. A lot of people say about us, like, oh, why are you talking about black women? Well, because we have black women in this space. And according to you guys throwing us in and out of blackness, we are in black spaces half the time. But in this woman's case, she's never even been in the skinny community. She's never been in the thin community. Yes, she has so much to say about it. But if I were to talk about her being overweight, or if I were to try to ask her questions about her experiences and invalidate her experiences, I would be called fat phobic. So do you see the hypocrisy? Anyway, what do you ladies think? Let me know in the comment section and I'll talk to you next time. Stay pretty, ladies.